Hey everyone, this is going to be the first video on this channel talking about sports betting, giving you guys kind of an intro, but it's okay if you already know a little bit about it. If you don't know anything about it, I think you should still be okay. You might get a little confused on the odds, but I try to explain them. So the first question everyone has when they hear about sports betting is it profitable? And if it is, why don't I just have infinite money? Good questions. First answer, yes, it is profitable. It's one of the few forms of betting that is profitable. Similar to poker, you are essentially betting against other people because the sports books, they move the line so that they have equal amount of money on both sides, or they try to get as close as they can. And so essentially you are taking the money from the losers, not from the sports book in a way. And they do have juice on both sides, so they're making money either way, but similar to poker, it is possible. How is it possible? And then I'll briefly talk about why, even if you are profitable, you can't make infinite money. That's because the sports books limit the people who are making money. They're able to tell if you're making profitable bets because they change their lines after your bets and see that, wow, this guy keeps getting better odds than we're offering. And what they do is they make it so I can only bet $5 on a given bet. And then even if you're making profitable bets, making 5% return on every bet, if it's a $1 bet, it simply doesn't matter. But until they figure out that you are profitable, you can make thousands of dollars from each sports book. So how do you make money sports betting? First way is to be Nostradamus and just be able to predict who's going to win what game, what players are going to hit their props. I mean, that's pretty much impossible as far as I can tell, and they all seem like liars and scammers to me, but maybe someone has some kind of way to figure it out. I don't know. Maybe they have insider information. The second way, which is definitely a real way to make money sports betting, is arbitrage betting. Now, this is where you're able to get essentially better than fair odds. Like you're able to get, so one example would be on a coin flip, you're able to get positive payout return on both sides. So like bet 100 win 105 on both sides of the coin flip. You're guaranteed then to return $5 on $200 down. But this is rare and pretty low return, but it is guaranteed profit. The last method, which is my favorite, my real specialty, and really the real moneymaker, which kind of branches off of arbitrage betting, but only bets the side that's, so basically arbitrage betting, usually one side is more profitable than the other, and this way you don't take the juice on the other side, but it's kind of confusing. I'll just get right into it. Positive expected value betting. There's three key concepts you need to understand: juice, implied odds, and expected value. And I say you need to understand them. You don't really need to understand them. If you use the tools I use, I'm basically just clicking buttons, not thinking about it at this point. But in order to have the trust in the system and understand why you're doing what you're doing, it does help. So what is juice? This is a pretty basic concept that everyone should know. Juice is the tax that the sports books add to their odds. So for example, on a coin flip in the Super Bowl, they will list minus 110. Now, for those of you who don't know what this means, it means you bet $110 to win 100. When it's minus, that means you bet that amount to win $100. And when it's plus, it means you bet $100 to win that amount. Don't worry if that's a little confusing, you'll get it. So for heads and tails, they offer minus 110. But a coin flip, we all know, is a 50-50, right? So it should be fair odds. If you're betting with your friend, you say, hey, I'll bet you $5, he's going to give you $5 if it's the other thing. He's not going to give you $4.50. But the sports books, they take that 10%. So they make it minus 110. You have to bet $110 just to win 100. That's what juice is. And it allows them to be profitable even if they're not able to perfectly predict what's going to happen, or if their lines deviate from the market for brief periods of time. They're usually able to use that 10% buffer on both sides to pretty much always make money off everyone. And juice is why everyone who's not using arbitrage betting or positive EV betting is going to lose all of their money in the long run. Because if your expected return, let's say on a bet, you lose even only 0.1% of that bet on average. If you do 10,000 bets, you've lost all your money. So it might take a while for you to lose all your money. You might even win 10 bets in a row or whatever. But if you're not having positive expected value, you will lose all of your money. If you do enough bets, you might get lucky short. But so let's talk about implied odds, and then I'll get into expected value and what that really means. Implied odds here, we're going to take a look at the Super Bowl from this past year. And we're going to look at the San Francisco 49ers. It's pretty standard. It was minus 120. And so minus 120, the implied odds of that are 54.55%. What that means is if you bet a minus 120 and it happens 54.55% of the time, you're breaking even. Now, if it happens more often than 54.55% of the time, you're going to be making money. And if it happens less than 54.55% of the time, you're going to be losing money. Now, here we see this true probability. What does that mean? Well, if you have both sides of a bet, which we do here, minus 120 and plus 100, we can calculate what it would be if they met in the middle and they weren't taking any juice. And that would be minus 109.09 versus plus 109. And so that correlates to a true probability that the sportsbooks really think is going to happen is 52.17% Niners, 47.8% Chiefs. And so when we look at the implied odds here, we see that the true probability is less than the implied odds, and so we would be losing money there. Now we're just going to look at this in table form, showing the implied odds of the Chiefs as well being 50%. That makes sense if you think about back to the coin flip. If you're getting 100 to 100, it's 50-50. But as we can see, the true odds are lower in both cases. And so both bets, plus 100 on the Chiefs and minus 120 on the Niners, would not be profitable. Now, it's kind of can be a little confusing to understand that both sides of the bet are not profitable. But if we think about the juice that they're taking, it does kind of make sense. Last key concept here, expected value. This is the big thing in poker, economics, statistics, that just it makes in the long run how you make the money. So here is kind of a simplified 5/11ths for 6/11ths kind of container here. So if we were the magic god of football and we reach into this jar and we grab out the Chiefs, right? 100%. Chiefs just won, right? There's only one winner. They get 100% of that win. But they only are representing about 46% of the win shares. So only 46% of the time are the Chiefs going to win. And 54% of the time the Niners are going to win. But there's only one game. So the real value return would be 100% whichever team wins. But the expected value would be 0.54 or 0.45, depending on if you're the Chiefs or the Niners. So what we're trying to do is find positive expected value, which I'm about to explain what that would look like. So the Chiefs, if you were able to get on a sports book plus 115 for the Chiefs, that we're going to try and calculate if that would be positive. Obviously, we can look here and see that it beats the middle line of plus 109, and that's kind of a way to tell if it's profitable, but we'll go into a little bit more math here. So 47.8% of the time, you will profit $115, right? Do we get that? You're betting 115, the true odds are 47%, so that's true, right? And then the other 52% of the time, you'll lose $100. So if we do the expected value math on that, we get $55 plus or minus 52.17, and we get 2.8345 is the expected return. Now this is either dollars or percents. It's the same here because we're doing base 100. But if you enter the odds here, then it would be percent. If you enter the dollars, it would be dollars. Since we're doing base 100, they're the same. So what this means is if you're able to get the Chiefs at plus 115, every time you place down that bet, you don't make 2.8345% profit, right? You're either going to get $115 or you're going to lose 100. But if we did this infinite times, every time you made that bet, your value would go up 2.8% expected. And so, I mean, even with this bet, you're going to lose more than you win. You know, the Niners are going to win more than the Chiefs. And so you're going to be wrong more than you're right, but it's still a profitable bet. And this is kind of hard for some people to understand, is that because the return time, the risk-adjusted return is higher than what you lose risk-adjusted, it's a profitable bet and you should be making that every time. But you're going to lose more than you win, like we said earlier. So you don't want to be staking your whole bankroll on each individual wager, not even close, because you know you could lose this bet 10 times in a row, but not 1,000. It's just not going to happen. So this all hinges on being able to get the Chiefs at better odds than plus 109, right? And that does not happen very often because the betting markets are very efficient, because pretty much everyone can bet on a variety of sports books. Almost all the sports books are accessible by everyone, depending on what state you're in. But people are going to look at the sports books, and if they differ from each other, they're just going to bet on the one that gives them the better odds. And so there are minutes, sometimes seconds, of inefficiencies between these sports books where you're able to find gaps. But they're far too rare and disappear far too quick to do by hand. And so that's why I'm letting you guys know about the tool that I use, which is called OddsJam, which allows you to compare all of the sports books, right? Find the odds of every sports book for every event that they offer. It'll give you the true odds by removing the juice from all those sports books and calculating the average. And then it will search for outlier offerings that are offering positive EV lines. And so what this looks like is, here is an example of their positive EV tool. And we can look here for a game, the Mariners versus the Angels, first half money line. So you see, it's not just searching money line spread. It's looking at every possible offering on every sports book that is available to you. And you see, even though it's scanning every possible event from every possible sports book, it's only finding, 4 things here that are profitable more than 1%. And so, like I said, they are rare, but if you just refresh it, there's multiple plus 2%, 3% bets that come every minute. And so they just disappear because the markets are changing so quickly. But if you're refreshing the site and you have the sports books open in another tab and you're able to, search through them quickly, you can find these bets. So we look here, Los Angeles Angels first half money line. Okay, well, I don't know. This is baseball, so I don't know what the first half is. Maybe there are probably rules for that. It's probably like 4 innings. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But the no juice odds would be minus 116.78. So those are the odds you have to beat, and the positive ones would be plus 116. So you can see the best Mariners line you can get is on Pinnacle, and that's plus 109. So the best possible sports book you can get for the Mariners is still not going to be profitable. But if we look at the Angels on stake, you're able to get minus 111, which, as we can see here, over minus 116, almost 117, is 2.4% expected value. And so that means, you bet, I'll just do the math easier here. If your recommended bet the recommended bet size is based on your bankroll, so how much money you have in the sites able to bet, and it calculates, you can enter specific risk multipliers, but I recommend just sticking with a Kelly multiplier of 1. It will tell you the recommended bet size to place on it based upon how likely the bet is to hit, as well as how profitable the bet is. And so here, if we just say this was 100, every time you place this bet down, you're getting $2.4. Now, as we kind of already talked about, that's not what's going to happen in reality on an individual bet basis. But if you're putting down 50 bets a day, 100 bets a day, however many bets you can put down, in the long run, you are making $2.4 every single time you make that bet. And so I'll leave a link to the description with the Getting Started guide with OddsJam. The guy Alex over there, he does a great job explaining more in detail. He's got about 10 videos you can watch through. They're a couple minutes long. And then they also offer a 7-day free trial if you guys just want to play around with it yourself and start messing around with the sports books. Also, the deposit bonuses on some of these sports books are crazy. I don't have the link to any of those in the description, but they have them on OddsJam if you guys want to check that out as well.